Hey everyone, it's Priscilla from the Stitch Queen Crochet, and today we're going to talk about what you need to get started crocheting and also what you don't need. We're going to keep it very super simple so that you can just go in the store, get what you need, and get out without spending $100 on crochet stuff that you're probably not going to use. All right, let's get right into it. So, number one, we're going to focus on yarn because I feel like there's the biggest yarn section at any store, RIP Joann's, Walmart, Michael's, Hobby Lobby, wherever you like to go to get your yarn stuff. So what I like to say is literally just go in there and look for a medium for waisted yarn. You're like, what does that mean? What is that? I'm gonna show you. I like to always say like Red Heart Super Saver. It is nice. Some of it's very soft, not all of it, but it's also like one of the cheapest acrylic yarns you can get. So when you look at your whole yarn label, you see that if you keep turning, you will see Nimbers. Number 4, medium waisted yarn. This is perfect for beginners. It's not too big, not too small, and it's very easily accessible. And you're like, okay, so what color should I get? So honestly, get a color that makes you happy. Get a project, that like really gonna look forward to doing, that's gonna get you excited. So for me, purple is really nice, but this yarn makes me excited, makes me happy, has colors that I like, and I know that I'm going to like using it. Also, it feels soft. It feels good in my hands. The last thing you want to do is get some yarn and it feels horrible. You got those sensory things in your fingers. You want your yarn to feel really good. So I say get a color that makes you happy, but don't get dark colors. And don't get white. You can, but don't. So for example, if you go in getting like a black color, you're going to have the hardest time seeing your stitches. You're going to be very upset. That doesn't always happen with like a light color yarn, but it can. So I would say a nice medium color, like this purple is nice. These yellows are nice. Red is nice too, very bright. So just keep it in that, but also you can also get like a little bit bigger yarn, like a 5 instead of a 4. And that helps, like, we'll talk about that later actually. So I would say to start off, keep it simple, get a weight 4. And also when it comes to yarn feel, get it comfortably. And also, don't get a yarn that splits. So when I say splits, it means you're going to be working in your project and the yarn has like a really loose twist. So for example, the yarn can be twisted tightly like this. So it's harder for your crochet hook to even like get in between the twists of the different plies. But let's just say that your yarn is like very loose like this. Your crochet is going to be end up going like in between the twists so much. Like a nice, tightly twisted yarn is easiest so that your hook goes into the right place. Now, there's also some kind of yarn that I like called like mercerized cotton yarn. And also it's actually, you can't really put your hook through it. It's like this yarn right here. There's not really a twist and your hook can't get inside of it. So it's really kind of easy, beginner friendly, but it's going to cost you a little bit more. It's up to you. But yeah, you can see, can't put your hook in that. It's not a twist, it's like a braid almost. But this cotton yarn is great for beginners. Now, one more thing, two more things, sorry, a few more things not to get is I would suggest to not get like a really thinner yarn. Like I would say like a weight 3 or below might be a little bit too thin. Like this yarn right here, it's beautiful. The yarn's great, but it's really thin. You're gonna end up crocheting like way too tightly, and you're gonna be like, this is not it. So trust me, like just don't get a thin yarn. And also don't get like super fuzzy yarn. Now we all love a good juicy couture. This kind of yarn is going to be really hard to see your stitches. Just trust me. Wait till you've been crocheting like a little bit longer and then get fuzzy yarn. Not too much for beginners. I would say just, get nice, regular, regular plied yarn if you can. Obviously, you're going to do what you want, but that's just my advice. And also, one more thing. Don't buy a hank. This is a hank where the yarn is like twisted into itself. As a beginner, you're not going to know how to untwist this hank and make it into a cake without getting it knotted. I have a whole YouTube video of my horror story about untwisting this yarn incorrectly and getting a bunch of tangles. So avoid hanks. They're gorgeous, just don't get them yet. And get like a nice regular like skein of yarn, even like a cake of yarn. Once again, not this thin, but different colors, because who doesn't like a nice self-strapping yarn? I know I do. So yeah, that's what I say about yarn. Get something that makes you feel good, that feels good in the hands. A color that you like, not black though. Just trust me on the not black. But all right, so we talked about yarn, what you should get, what you shouldn't get. Let's talk about hooks. Now, one more thing. Let's bring back this yarn label. So what you're gonna do is when you find the yarn you want, you can look at the yarn label. See right next to the 4. You're gonna see what kind of hook you should use. Right there, it says 5.5 millimeter hook, USI 9. You can go to the hook section and get a nice hook that will match a 5.5. Now, I suggest everyone start with like a 5.5 hook, because I find it like very, easy to get, and it fits the weight for worsted weight yarn like absolutely perfectly, in my opinion. So yeah, 5.5 hook. Now, I will say one more thing about hook and yarn. This goes on to like our third thing. I teach crochet classes, and the most common thing, people are like really, really, really tense, and they crochet super, super tightly. Now, for one of my students, she had the great idea, which I'm learning to tell people to do right now, is to get 2 strands of yarn at the same time, and then treat it like it's one yarn, and you have like a bulkier yarn without having to buy a bulky yarn, using like a bigger hook, like even a 5.5, like a 6 millimeter or a 6.5 millimeter. So a bigger hook and 2 strands together can help you if you end up crocheting too tight, because you have like a thicker yarn to work with. So little tip there. Also, when it comes to the hook size, if you get like a bigger yarn, you can get like a bigger hook, whatever it says on the thing to get. So like this yarn, if you get it that's not this kind of texture, you can get like a bulky yarn, and then get like a 6.5 hook if you want to. So yeah, the yarn will tell you what hook to get, but when you first start, get like a nice medium and like a 5.5 or a 6, and keep it right in the middle. You don't want to use like a really, really tiny hook or like a really, really huge yarn either, because that's going to be annoying to work with when you're first getting started. So that's the kind of hook and kind of yarn you should get and not get. Now let's get into my next point. You already forgot it, so I have a list. My brain is all over the place. Oh, next thing. This might be a little obvious, but it also might not be. Make sure you get some scissors. I use basic craft scissors. There's probably better ones. Like I got sent this. This is really cute too, but you can get some basic scissors like what I have over here from Walmart for like $2, and they're really cheap, and they cut my yarn perfectly. Now, when you use your scissors for your yarn, try to only use it just for the yarn, because they can get dull very quickly if they're used to cut like everything in your house. You know what I mean? It's like hair scissors. Use that for just your hair. Craft scissors, if you can, keep them for craft scissors. Also, darning needles. This is like for sewing in your ends, doing embroidery on your projects, all kinds of stuff. So I like using plastic hooks like this. And can you see it? There we go. Also, you can use metal too, but it might be a little bit harder. But plastic hooks, metal hooks, I'm sorry, not hooks, needles. These are good for sewing in your ends, all the things. So yeah, plastic or metal, but I would say get a plastic one. Especially when you're starting out. You won't, pick your fingers as much if you're a little klutzy like I am. All right. So those are all the basic things you need. Those are like necessities, I would say. Now we can go on to some optional things you can get, like stitch markers. I did not learn crocheting with these. I had no idea what they were until I was like years and years in crocheting. Now, what they are good for is when you're like counting your stitches, and when you want to kind of remember when you're first starting what your first and last stitch is. For example, when I teach in one of my classes, I say, hey, use these stitch markers. You can mark your first and last stitch. So here's my work, right? Here's my little double crochet piece right here. And here is my first stitch. Can you see it? Yeah, you can see it, of the row. I'm going to get my stitch marker and put it in my first stitch. And then I'm also going to put it in my last stitch, so that when I'm working back and forth on my rows, I know where to start and I know where to stop, because it's so easy to drop a stitch where you forget where your last stitch is, or even adding on accident. You can so easily just accidentally go too far over or stop before you're supposed to. So this kind of helps you, see where I start, where I end. And after each row, you just move it up to have a nice straight thing. Now that can help you when you're in the middle and accidentally increasing and decreasing, but it really helps for the ends. So they're also good for keeping your project from coming apart. So like here's my loop that my hook is not on. I put it in there. Now if it's running around in my bag, it's not going to come apart. So also a good use for stitch markers is for counting. Like for example, if you have like 100 stitches you have to do, you can put like every 10 or every 20 to know where you are in your row. Once again, you'll know all these terms when you get into crocheting, but just keep it in mind for later. So another little thing that you don't need, but it's fun, it's cutesy, it's demure. Sorry, I don't know why I'm saying that. I know y'all are so annoyed of hearing that. I am so sorry. But a little notebook. I got this from Joann's before they closed. Well, they're still open now, but there ain't none left. A little notebook, you know? So what a little notebook and like a little pin, a little basic pin, what these are good for is kind of keeping track of the yarn that you like. Get a little piece of your yarn, cut it, put in here, say what color it is, what brand it is. Even, putting down what you've learned, what you want to learn, brain dumping crochet projects. Also, if you start writing your own patterns, you can just write down your books, you know how to remake it later, because you can write the pattern now, because like you will forget. You write a pattern and you didn't write it down, it's gone, trust me. So writing down your patterns, writing down ideas. It's just nice to have like a dedicated space to put down everything crochet. This one even has a cute little thing on the back you can measure. I thought that was really cool when I saw it after I bought it. Anyway, those are some nice little extra things, to have that you don't need, but it's nice. So I think another thing, double checking my list, is find some good YouTube videos. Now, shameless, absolutely shameless plug. Here I am. I'm actually starting a whole new beginner series with this video. I have a whole playlist list I'm starting of how to single crochet, how to do different kind of stitches, about things about tension, all the basics of how to crochet. So subscribe if you want. Don't if you don't like me. I'm not going to get offended. But if not, there's a bunch of other YouTubers on here that literally have so many amazing, helpful, in-depth tutorials as well. But I like teaching too. So find a good video, dive in. And now one more thing that's optional is a crochet abbreviations list. So I would suggest when you start crocheting, you don't have to, but start learning how to read patterns early. Every pattern that you like is not going to have a video tutorial. I'm sorry, but some will, but some don't. And once you learn the abbreviations, you'll be able to get through a pattern like this. So I will link in my description a list that I made with all the abbreviations. Well, not all, but a lot of them. You can download it. It's right in the description. I'll put it right there for free. Abbreviation list. And you're going to thank me because like you're going to use it for, it's going to be so helpful. Basically, it's like learn your abbreviations and like learn how to read patterns. You don't have to, but it's cool. So anyway, this is a lot of fun. Go to your nearest store or go on Amazon, whatever you do to buy your items. I like going in stores to feel everything. It's so helpful. So go get a medium 4 weight yarn, get a 5.5 or 6 millimeter crochet hook, little jar needles. You probably already have scissors, and just get started. So I'm going to link my beginner playlist right here. So I would say start learning right now. Learn the slip knot and the chain and single crochet stitch next. That's going to be the basis for almost any project you could ever imagine. Crocheting is so much fun. It's amazing. You're going to love it. Also, watch the video right here or wherever it's going to be somewhere. I don't know how YouTube, I do. It's going to be somewhere. Things I wish I knew before I started crocheting. There's a lot of tips on there from other crocheters who've been crocheting for years, and it's really, really awesome. It's really educational, informational, very fun. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching. Please enjoy crocheting, watch my other videos, and give yourself a lot of patience. Crocheting takes time, but try to enjoy the process. You're gonna love it. Now, go get your materials and get started. Stop putting it off. You know what you gotta do. Thank you to my channel members for supporting my YouTube channel, and like and comment. If you want to help me with like my algorithm, comment what you wish you knew when you started crocheting. Comment some tips for beginners. When they go down there, they'll know what they, This is just some tips, and comment materials that you suggest that other crocheters should get when they first get started. Let's have a whole conversation down there. Thank y'all for watching and have an awesome day, my crochet kings and queens. Bye. And watch one of these videos next, wherever it's gonna be.